Hey, African Queen Mo family, how are you? Today is Friday, TGIF. Wow, that week has really flown. That week has flown. I hope you're going to join us today. Welcome, welcome. I have in studio with me my colleague called Susan, and she's a lawyer. And I am an evaluator researcher, and we are both concerned citizens in Africa, in the country, located in the country of Kenya, in the beautiful city of Nairobi. We welcome you to the show, and we thank you also very much for supporting us. We noticed that you have been watching us even after the show, and we really appreciate that. Um, and today you can see my background is a little bit different. It's been raining very heavily. We had been warned that we should expect some pretty heavy precipitation. So we're expecting quite a bit of rain. Those of you guys who are driving or out in the rain, you be careful about flash floods and things like that. Yeah, because we don't want any accidents or things like that. So, what are we talking about today? Today, we're talking about this gentleman called Adani, whose deal seemed to have gone down south. Yeah, it went sour. And the question is, should we really believe the hype? Yeah, or is this thing going to be like the other one? We had the Finance Bill 2024, and it came through the back door. And the question is, really, what and who is Adani? Is Adani a human, or is he an entity, or is it a thing, or what is it? What really is this Adani? What shape or form is this Adani? And those are the questions that I see a lot of young people asking. I was watching a program on NTV called The Trend today, and I was listening very keenly to young people questioning the same thing. And I thought to myself, wow, these young people are really well lit. They are lit. Yeah, you guys are lit. It's so good that it's very difficult to fool Kenyans right now. Kenyans are like, we're with it. So what is Adani? Adani is this apparent gentleman from the East. Let's not call him a gentleman. He's a businessman from the East, from India. And a lot of Indians in Kenya were supporting him because they wanted him to purchase the airport, just like the way we have the Chinese who have purchased the railways, or they've engaged in business with the Kenya government with the railway. They thought, well, with why are you guys discriminating against Indians? And the issue is, I don't think Kenyans were really discriminating against Indians. The problem was that this whole deal was kind of surrounded in mystery. People really were not aware about it. There was no tender, there was no open tender. So there was unfair competition for that. And as much as we know that our airport is really in need of a revamp, and I've been to the airport here at JKIA, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, it does need a revamp. I must admit that. Yeah. As you heard from the leaky roofs from the then cabinet secretary for transport at that time, Kipchumba Murkomen at that time, with the leaky roofs. Yeah, they were having a hard time, trying to deal with water seeping into the lounge and things like that. So, yeah, it makes sense to upgrade the airport, but the question is, why not have an open tendering process that will give fair competition and fair opportunity to all people from Kenya? You know. So that's the issue with that. And so we wanted to. We know that there was a State of a Nation address. There was a national address, actually, in the National Assembly by the president on the issue of Adani, when Adani was actually captured in the U.S. and charged. He's charged. Well, he's being accused of corruption, mega, mega, mega corruption, something that is not new to us and something that Kenyans were already notifying the government about and cautioning the government about this. But unfortunately, we had very many key players in the government who were denying this, denying that this was a bad deal, and saying that no, he's a great guy, he's a wonderful person. But what happened is that all of a sudden, this guy, once he was caught by the US, all of a sudden the president came back and had a different story, and he said, you know what, we have decided based on reports from friendly countries that, and I don't know, other sources, that this might not be the best deal, and therefore that contract has been cancelled. And my question is, why was it really cancelled? And is Adani, the only person? Is he the main person who is involved? So anyway, that's Adani now. And then, in addition to that, we also have a very dangerous situation going on globally right now. We have, you saw the strikes between um, Russia and Ukraine. Actually, Ukraine first, and then Russia. Russia's very major response to Ukraine. And we as Africans have always been mum on international politics, on things to do with on warfare, and things like that. And the question is why? Why are we silent? Those are the kinds of things that I'd like us to discuss today. Please join us in our StreamYard. Join us. You can come into StreamYard, or you can watch on YouTube through the link that I gave you. If you go into StreamYard, you go into the comment section, you can write down your comments if you don't want to come into the studio, because it would be nice to have a discussion if you could have more people coming on board. But at this stage, allow me to introduce Susan before I hog up the whole space. Let me introduce Susan and let her welcome her to the show, and welcome all of you guys who are watching. I can see you there. Thank you for the thumbs up. We appreciate that. Hi, Susan. Karibu. Salimia our wagenis.
Hello. As usual, I'm really happy to be here. Um, I'm looking forward to vibrant discussions on what we have for you today. We've had an interesting 2 days for sure. Yeah, definitely very interesting 2 days. Things moving really fast, and I'm sure you have a lot to say about it. Can I go on?
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, let me just introduce the other subject, and then I'll give you the floor to give us some news roundup. Susan will give us the news roundup, and thank you, Susan. We really appreciate you on this show. You're really adding a lot of value to the show because of your background as a lawyer, as a researcher, as a workshop facilitator, as a mediator, as a Kenyan, as a concerned citizen, and as a wonderful colleague. You're adding so much value to the show. And I'm sure that a lot of people are appreciating your contributions. And yeah, I'm hoping that you guys are learning from Susan and also enjoying our show. If you are, give us thumbs up and also come in and chat with us. Now, the other issues that we want to discuss is that unfortunately, we are still seeing escalation of violence, gender based violence in our society. We have unfortunately, yet another report of a lady who almost lost her life today. And she was very badly injured by her, actually, I don't know whether it's her partner or her husband, and her name is Shiko. She's in the hospital with very, very serious bruises and very serious wounds from a machete. And I believe that there was an argument, and this man just, pounced on her. Earlier this week, we also lost another woman to femicide. And it's actually very concerning as a woman, especially, and not even as a woman, as a member of the society, as a mother, as a concerned citizen. It is very, very unfortunate that we are having this escalation of femicides. And unfortunately, also in addition to that, as despite the fact that the president has come out guns blazing against it, the fact is that when you actually look at the actions of the judiciary, you see that there might be maybe some prosecutions, but there's been no incarcerations. And so this kind of makes women become vulnerable and feel like we must take things into our own hands. This is when, things happen which are not positive. This is when you start to see a real women defending themselves. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Women will defend themselves. It will get to the point where women will not tolerate this, and women's families will not tolerate this. And you'll start to see that, it can result in lawlessness, in people taking things into their own hands if the government does not take a stance and do something, if the judiciary does not do something about this, incarcerate those people who are meting violence against women and taking the lives of women. Women will definitely fight back. They will. And you see, women have many ways. Women have soft ways of doing things, If you guys watch Niger cinema, Nollywood, give you some idea of what women might do. And it just gets to a point where if women feel like they are, if people feel cornered, then in that case, yeah, expect anything, guys. Expect anything from women. Just watch the animal kingdom and see what a woman and a mother does. How a mother can, stand up for herself and her cubs and her children. Yeah, if left with no other sense of recourse. So anyway, Susan, let me allow you to continue now and give us a news roundup before I get too passionate about this issue of femicide.
Well, for sure, a very sort of it's a very tense issue, very hot issue, femicide. But before we get there, like you said, Queen Mo, I think we just look at, just do a quick perusal of what's been going on uh, in the past 2 days. Apart from the State of the Nation address, which was yesterday, which was, there are a lot of discussions that have flowed from it. There's some other things that have been going on. For instance, the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, is concerned about his security. He's saying that he's being followed and he got a number plate of a vehicle, and when he checked, he saw that number belongs to a lorry. So he's concerned about it, and he posted it on his social media platforms, and just so he wanted people to know what was going on. Of course, again, we've been seeing a lot of political realignment as a result of that. Uh, I see all these happening as a result of that shift of power. When the deputy president was impeached, we're seeing ODM, some noises from ODM, some issues about, the Mount Kenya region is not going to support the current the president in the 2027, and some noises there about whether the Mount Kenya cabinet secretaries should continue to sit because they're not going to vote. But that's just some noises that are in the social media. And of course, remember we talked about post-truth era. We need to verify that information. So that is just some noises that are being picked up by political analysts. I cannot say that I agree with them or not, but definitely there's been a lot of shifting in the political space. Also noises about the committee chairs. We've talked about this, committee chairs and vice chairs in the National Assembly and in Senate being replaced if they were aligned to the former deputy president. We've had some noises like that. And again, in ODM, some noises also from the younger group in ODM, sort of saying, not being very happy with Raila for getting into the broad-based government, and also feeling that that ODM is the largest opposition party, and sort of feeling that they were losing their position. So there's been that from somebody called Salasia, making a lot of noise. Also, Babu Awino, he spoke up and he sort of supported Gladys Wanga as the chair of ODM, and and also sort of seems to be moving away from seems to be holding a sort of independent view on many issues. Yeah, so that's some of the news in the political arena. Of course, there's Adani. Adani has come back. Well, he's denying the charges that have been presented against him in the US. What it is, just to clarify about the Adani deals, there are two. Let's say there are three. There are two. There's one under the Ministry of Transport, that is JKIA, where he was going to refurbish the airport, like Queen Mo said. The other, and then as a result of the refurbishment, there was this really, I thought was very oppressive. That we'd hand over the management of the airport for 30 years, and you just imagine somebody born today, say the deal went through. By the time Adani is out, that person will be 30 years old. I mean, that's literally a whole generation. So that was JKIA. And then there's also the transmission lines with Ketraco. They're supposed to do 372 kilometers at an exorbitant fee, if you ask me. there are 3 transmission lines under that KETRACO contract, and to cover 372 kilometers at a cost of $737 million US. And this is so exaggerated when you compare it with the Ethiopian line, which was 612 kilometers, which was uh, done by somebody else, at a cost of 140 million US dollars. So that's almost like it's at least 6 times the price for a shorter distance. So you wonder why the price is so exaggerated. Also, what was supposed to be paid is to Adani is 21 billion, as opposed to what Kenya Power pays KETRACO, which is 3 billion. So you can just see there's some issues there with the pricing, exaggerated cost, but more about that later. There's also the issue of Haiti. With the Trump regime coming in, there's some questions about whether they will continue to support the agreement that was there with the former U.S. administration, where we sent some police officers over to Haiti. So because of the funding issues that it is facing funding, and in fact, one of the videos, I don't know whether you're able to show it, Queen Mo, it shows the surprise. Kenyans was really surprised to find out that we actually paid some money, and it was quite a lot of money for our police officers to go to Haiti. And the explanation that was given by the Singoe is that apparently that's the way it's done, that when you're under the arrangement that our police officers went to Haiti, is that the government's supposed to pay and then get refunded. And I think that surprised Kenyans, because we thought that it was fully funded by the US. So now, because of the funding issue, the US and Kenya approached the UN Security Council, because they wanted that project to be given the UN peacekeeping status, so that they could take over the funding of that. But I read in the news from Capital News, they said that China and Russia vetoed that and said that they cannot send peacekeeping forces when there's strife. Because currently the police are facing, warring gangs, so there's trouble. So the UN peacekeeping forces only come in when there's peace, just to maintain the peace. So we got that veto there. So that is the news for now, and I think we'll get into the meat of the discussion after this. Queen Mo has talked about the recent reports of femicide. We'll bring that in as we continue to discuss the status report, and of course the Ukraine-Russia war, and how is it impacting us here in Kenya. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
it from me.
Thank you, Susan. Let me play that Haiti Haiti let me present, sorry, that Haiti video that you mentioned. Let's see if I find it in here. It's a video file. And then okay, let me see if I can find it. You guys will have to forgive me. I'm still very new at this. I'm having fun with it, but learning learning is not a joke. Where sometimes it gets to a point where I thought, okay, where did I put it now? Oh, geez. Yeah, I found it. Yeah.
Here at Citizen Television. Now, listen to this story. It is emerging tonight that the government has spent 2.1 billion shillings on multinational security operations in Haiti, which began back in June. Now, the first payment was reportedly made on the 18th of September. Now, Kenya's decision to dip into its coffers to fund the mission comes as a surprise, given that it was initially expected to be financed by the United Nations. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has clarified that Kenya pays for the operations up front, and the UN is supposed to reimburse the money. Let's get more from our very own Melita Oletenges.
As seen by Citizen TV from the National Treasury addressed to the National Assembly reveals that the Treasury spent 17.6 billion under the provisions of Article 223, which permits the government to spend funds without prior parliamentary approval. According to the letter, 2.1 billion was allocated to support multinational security operations in Haiti. The letter, which seeks the National Assembly's approval for the expenditure, indicates that the funds were disbursed on September 18, 2024, 2 months after the mission in Haiti commenced in June. This revelation contradicts the government's earlier position that the Haiti mission would be fully funded through funds channeled to the United Nations. It also raises concerns about allegations of inadequate funding for the mission, with reports suggesting that Kenyan troops in Haiti are not having it easy. On reaching out to CS Mbadi, he responded, "This money we are spending is on behalf of the UN. We are the ones making the payments, so the funds come from our exchequer because these are our officers. We pay and they refund us. However, we now need to recognize the expenditure since it wasn't accounted for in the budget. The law requires that this be addressed within 2 months." Last month, former Haitian Prime Minister Gary Conille and President William Ruto jointly appealed to the international community for urgent financial support to sustain the police deployment in Haiti, which has been extended for another year.
We are asking the international community to match their commitment, their pledges, with the necessary action for us to be able to complete the task ahead of us.
To our friends from other countries to come back to the commitments they've made and to ensure that as urgently as possible they're able to make sure that the mission is fully funded.
Kenya deployed 400 of the 1,000 police officers it pledged in June and July of this year. However, only $85 million of the estimated $600 million needed annually for the mission's operation has been received through a UN-established trust fund, according to Human Rights Watch. President Ruto stated that the available funds are expected to be depleted by March next year.
They have every support that they need up to March 2025. We are asking the international community to step up because our mandate extends all the way to October next year.
Melita Oletenges, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
All right.
Yeah, so there you have it, quite a concerning situation. They went over there was insufficient funds. Now they're appealing to the international bodies. The UN has only sent a certain amount of money, so they're asking for the support. And it was really shocking for Kenyans to realize that we've been saying we don't have money, and 2.1 billion shillings has been sent. So those are some of the things that when we feel we're not being told the whole story, upfront, because we were told as Kenyans one story, and now we're seeing it sort of the story unfolding in a different way from what we expected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, Susan, that clip, guys. What do you guys think about that clip? That was, I'm just watching that myself for the first time, honestly. And so many red flags are going up in my head, like dung, 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 dung. The first red flag that's going up in my head is commitments. You see, international community just has this bad habit of making commitments and not following through, making pledges and not following through with their commitments. Like I said in the last video, it's going to reflect, but it usually reflects badly now on the leadership of the country. Because when international community makes promises and pledges and doesn't follow through, and yet they're kind of captured in the budget, then, you see, Kenya is spending this money in good faith, expecting to get that money back. And in fact, they say that they spent how much? Is it 85 million out of 600 million or something dollars? And that is a lot of money for us. And if out of, I don't even think it's less than 15% of the budget that they received for the year, which is ridiculous because it's going to be expiring. Did you say March next year? Yeah, March next year. They
October.
need some more
No,
money, huh?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's going to
Yeah,
be, I think, 2.1 billion, which we've spent. Kenyans have spent
in shillings.
2.1 billion.
Yeah, in shillings.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is about $85 million. Yeah, I think that's what
Mm.
they said. So the question is, will they follow through? And then what is risky right now is the transition of power. Okay, the transition from the Democratic Party to the Republicans. And the Republicans, as we know, they may not have a vested interest in continuing with the Haiti mission because they're looking internal, they're looking inward in their government, they're looking inward, and they're not really looking outward, in terms of supporting countries to support them in places like Haiti, unless it's something to do with terrorism and attacks, direct attacks on the US or on things like that. So there's a great, and then again, as you can see, from what I can see from Trump, he questioned the necessity of that mission in Haiti. He has already mentioned it. He's already questioned it. And I think that has sent some jitters to the government. At the same time, I've also seen President Ruto approaching the BRICS nations and asking China to introduce Kenya into the BRICS nations. He wants to join BRICS. Yeah. And the thing is that the idea of BRICS in the first place is to kind of neutralize the strengths of America, of the US, who is supposed to be a major partner. Today I was listening to the outgoing what do we say, the outgoing what diplomat, yeah, the outgoing ambassador to Kenya from America. And she was saying basically that she feels like she was being asked questions, especially in terms of continuation of projects. So one of the projects that they're worried about is the PEPFAR, which addresses HIV/AIDS. So the question is the HIV/AIDS programming still going to be funded by Trump's administration going forward? I know that most likely it's not going to be top of the list for them. Most likely there's going to be cutbacks in funding, you know, for that kind of thing, for NGO work. There's going to be cutbacks, definitely. And this might be one of those projects that suffers. And it would be a big risk for Kenya, a very big risk. And I think, there was that expectation of those $100 million US dollars coming into the country. And if they're not going to come in, I don't know, if I was the president, what I would be doing. I'd be very concerned. Absolutely concerned. Yeah. So that is a very big thing. And I think we should be concerned about it. And let's see what happens going forward. Let's just see what happens. Thank you, Susan,
Yeah.
for drawing attention to that one.
Yeah. Certainly, it's that's a lot of money, especially now when we're saying we don't have funds for this and that. The rollout of SHA is a problem because it's grossly under underfunded. It's grossly underfunded. They need 50 billion and they've only been given 5 billion. Yeah. So so those are some of the subjects, and like even the suggestion there, apart from what Queen Mo pointed out about commitment, is also the suggestion that it's not going so well for our police officers, and it seems even there's delay in payment. We're talking about money, the first lot of money getting there in September. It means that they've been gone there for a few months without any pay. So anyway, we wish them well. We want them to come home safe, and we hope that that matter is resolved in a better way, and the funds, we're able to get the funds and the refund, and the refund, and the refund, so that it can be brought back for use. Yeah.
One of the other things, apart from what I heard Donald Trump talk about the Haiti mission, I also
Yeah.
heard him talk about the United Nations itself.
Yes.
He doesn't have a very positive attitude towards the UN. And the fact
Yeah.
that it's, in a UN trust or whatever it is is also another risk. So there's a double risk over there with that particular mission. And I think this one needs a really serious risk assessment by the
Yeah,
government and with professionals, and not necessarily politically. With professionals, they need to do a really serious, and then they need to do that risk assessment properly, and then they need to look at it politically as well and try to find a way to negotiate. Because if these are, and Meg Whitman actually mentioned this Haiti mission. She mentioned that this as one of her highlights for her term in Kenya, you know, and also the other highlight that she mentioned was the state visit by the president to the U.S. So
yeah,
I think that we don't know whether or not the Trump administration is going to be going forward with this, but I highly suspect most likely not, because they're actually talking about peace. Trump's focus is actually on peace and not war. Yeah, and so he would probably be putting money into, if there's any money, maybe they're trying to call it a peace mission, but that association with the United Nations as a peace mission with the UN is a question.
yeah.
This is a
But
problem. They need to weigh their options about how to position themselves so that they are attractive to the next administration that's coming in. Yeah,
yeah,
so that it's
but it's
actually
not for
aligned.
peace. Yeah,
Hmm.
but it's not, the police are not there. The Kenyan police are not there for peace. They're trying to, secure the place and make it peaceful. So that's why the UN peacekeeping force cannot go there, and that's why China and Russia vetoed, because that's beyond their mandate. Yeah. So other news today, after the State of the Nation address that was 1 hour and 7 minutes long yesterday, there's been a lot of discussion about it, so many things coming out of it. So maybe let's just look in summary about, just get the meat of the discussions that took place. So the opening words from our president were that listening is a full-time occupation of leadership. And maybe we should bear that in mind as we consider the rest of the report. And remember, on Wednesday, we talked about what is supposed to be contained in this report. And we said that it's supposed to supposed to be like a report on the measures and progress uh, under Article 10, which deals with governance, national values, and governance principles. So issues like integrity, issues human rights issues, governance issues, sustainable development are all in there. So those were the things, as I was listening, I was trying to pick them up from, to see whether he was talking about any of those things: equality, rule of law, democracy, and stuff like that. So he said that the key aim of the past year was to reduce expenditure, mobilize resources internally, and curtail waste. So those are the three sort of things that they focused on, the Kenya Kwanza government. And some milestones he talked about were economic milestones, um, and talked about the reduction. He talked about shillings being stabilized from 162 to 129. He talked about inflation rate coming down from 9.6 to 2.7%, lowest in 17 years. And he talked about foreign exchange reserves, which can cover up to four months, 4.8 months, so almost 5 months, of 9.5 billion. And he talked about, that he was that we were building resilience. That reserve was now to build resilience, so to shield from external shocks, and build investor confidence. And then he talked about interest rates. There's a downward trend. Tax revenues have grown by 11.5%. Economy growth, 2023, 5.6, 2024, 5%, and 2025, 5.6 again. So then he talked about maize, cereal product, food security. That was something he talked about. He talked about stocks of cereals in the granary. That's mostly maize, beans, wheat, rice. He talked about the sugar sector and coffee exports, and and milk production. He also made reference to education. Of course, he talked about um, the funding model, which is facing a lot of resistance, and increasing the teachers. Said that 56,000 teachers were hired, but 110 teachers are needed for this new CBC structure. That only 56 were hired, and he said, oh, another 20,000 will be hired by the beginning of January next year. And then health, of course, he talked about the shisha. Some people are going shisha, and then they're going, because I heard one lady, this minister, she called Wamushomba saying shisha, and then she went into, remember in Kiswahili how you do the kivi class, kivi cha. Anyway, just the jokes that people are making. So anyway, the the universal health coverage, that is supposed to be achieved through the shift as managed by SHA. And he talks about some of the challenges there, that health is a devolved function, although the national government cannot fail to be engaged in it. The counties face shortages of medicine and understaffing. And he talked quite at length about this, and I think this is one of the big topics that came out. And we know that this has been one of the areas where even the churches have really talked about it, because their concern is that the congregants are not accessing medical care, and some of them are actually passing away as a result of that. And yet some have even paid, and some have paid even NHIF. And then we were told now NHIF is something else. Now you have to pay for shift. So they paid for shift and they're still not getting the care they need. So they're being turned away. He said there were 4 laws that he passed to support universal health care. So shift replaced NHIF. And I was listening to Citizen, and they're saying actually there was a transition period of 1 year, which ends today, right? So now shift is supposed to be fully operational. So NHIF is no longer there. So there's a period of 1 year because it was operationalized in last year. So it's supposed to end today. So he was saying, now what happens? We don't really have a way forward on that, because there are still outstanding monies owed to NHIF, and these not to NHIF. There's still outstanding monies owed to hospitals and medical establishments through NHIF, and that historical debt or legacy debt is 30 billion shillings. 30 billion shillings. And in his speech, the president said that they had paid 5 billion to settle historical debts, and it was to public, private, and faith-based facilities, and that another 3.7 billion shillings will be dispersed today. So these are things to fact check. And then the clearing of the outstanding balances in a phased out approach in the coming months. So they're supposed to clear a legacy debt of 30 billion shillings that's owed to NHIF. Now, SHA itself needs 50 billion. Yeah. And you let me know if my sound is going off, Maureen. Am I clear?
Yeah,
Am
you're
I
fine,
clear?
Susan. It went off and on, but it's fine. It's cool. It's all right.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
it's fine.
So apparently Um, 17.3 million people have registered under SHA, but only 700,000 are paying. And I don't know whether, people got these messages about you have successfully been moved to SHA. I don't know. I'm sure if we asked in the chat, how many Kenyans got such messages on their phone and they wondered, well, I never applied to be moved to SHA, but we just got messages on our phone saying you have successfully been moved to SHA. So I don't know whether, so they're talking about only 700,000 of the 17.3 million people who have registered are paying. So that's an issue again of maybe trust and stuff like that. So yeah, so that is some of the things on SHA. So then the other thing he talked about was urbanization. He said, and that's when the affordable housing thing story comes up. Their plan is to build 200,000 units every year for 10 years. So they're targeting about 2 million units. I was listening to a policy analyst who said that when you do the maths, that doesn't really help to deslum the slums. The affordable housing, apparently there is it 1,140 something or slums in Kenya. And so they're trying to replace the slums with these affordable housing. The question again that most Kenyans would ask is whether really the target group are getting these units. I was looking at it and I saw that they're ranging from like a studio from 1 million to about 4 point something million for like 3-bedroom house. So they've got different categories of houses. Some are for, it depends on as you go up the wage or the salary rank, people earning 20,000, 50,000, stuff like that. So they have bigger and bigger houses. So there's from 1 million and that's how it has been planned to about
Yeah.
4 point something million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan, let me just say something about that affordable housing
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the government has built these affordable housing units, but then people are supposed to be paying kidogo kidogo, you know? I remember, I actually remember a complaint by one person who actually had actually paid for a unit in full. And I think they were
Yeah.
using the e-citizen to pay, yeah, to pay for the unit. But what he noted is that the number of units had not gone down based on his payment. He had expected, like, if there were like maybe 200 units, then he would have paid for one, then it should be reading 199. But the number of units is still remaining the same.
Yeah.
And so he was wondering to himself, what's going to happen? I can't get a refund I can't get a refund. I can't see
Yes.
that I can't see my unit. I can't even, like, he didn't know where to go, how to claim it. This thing is
Yeah.
amorphous. Yeah. So that's one of the biggest problems. There's just too much gray area around that. And then the question about whether they're going to be really resolving the slum situation is actually just based on that, the affordability of those units. Most of those people who are living in um, in those informal settlements, we call them informal settlements, but anyway, when they're living in this low income housing, people
Yeah.
actually paying something like, they're paying rent. They're actually paying rent of like up to 2,000 shillings. Look, with a mortgage or something like 1 to 5 million, you're looking at paying between 20 million and 50 million a month or more. And sorry, no, you're looking to pay between 10,000 and 50,000 shillings a month in rent. You know what I mean? These are people who are
Yeah.
paying 2,000. So it's not going to, what they'll do, they'll just give it out. They'll give it out. They won't touch, even if they were assigned the units, they won't be able to afford them. So it will
Yeah.
just put people back into poverty. And we're looking at a potential situation like what happened in China of white elephants, where we have buildings upon buildings built up, high rise complexes littering our cities, and they're empty. Yeah, we have a real concern. I think Sakaja and anybody who is developing those housing estates should actually make a trip to China and go and look at those quote unquote affordable houses that they built
Yeah.
and
Mm.
see the splore, the what do we say? This spurling. I'm looking for the English. I can't find it. You're the Queen's English woman. Huh?
Sprawling.
Sprawling, yes.
Sprawling.
This
Yeah.
the sprawling mujengos out there. Eh?
Yeah.
Tall high rises, making the place
Yeah.
very dark, very bad for very bad for air quality. I know people who live in the Kileleshwa area, by the way. I know of people who live in Kileleshwa, Kilimani area, and one of the biggest complaints of the Kenyans living in those areas right now is the quality of air. Air quality is coming down. Apart from the roads, air quality, they can hardly breathe. The houses are close like this, and they're all high rises. The second thing that they're complaining about is 5G. Yeah, the internet, the Wi-Fi network is so strong. You can imagine how many units, thousands of units in a little
Yeah.
space with all
Yeah.
that Wi-Fi, all of that radiation, yeah, coming at you. I tell you what, that's not going to be healthy cities. Those are not healthy cities in which to live. And you see, Kileleshwa has always been like, for example, if for people who are from Zimbabwe and elsewhere, Kileleshwa used to be like Westlands, where you have bungalows, beautiful, what they used to call colonial bungalows, 3 bedroom with like a half acre, green, lots of trees and bush, beautiful roads. I mean, very nice, very high class, high end environment. Now they've converted all of those units into all of those little compounds into apartment buildings, which are they have like at least
Yeah.
30, 40, and with I don't know, going beyond 14 floors. Yeah, and they're close together like this. That you're in your living room and you can see literally inside the living room of your neighbor. That's how bad it is. But especially you can imagine for children, there are no children's playgrounds. So the density of the population is really, really high. They're having a water problem right now. That's one of the biggest problems of Kileleshwa right now is water.
Mm.
There's also a problem with the traffic. Many people are moving even away. The people who would actually be able to afford those units are moving away. So it's going to end up becoming empty, and people are moving. They're just moving away. It's actually going to be counterproductive. So I would
Yeah.
say that the government really needs to think very, very hard about what they're doing in the city of Nairobi, because to bring down those buildings, on the other hand, to go back, you can't. It's not going to be very easy to do that. Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
Susan, thank you. I'm just bringing the human aspect to this,
Yeah.
yeah, to these
Yeah.
sprawling slums. Let's just take a comment from Fia here.
Yeah.
Fia, I put on my glasses so I can see nicely. Yeah. She's asking, what are the affordable houses? Where are the affordable houses being built? Are they near the slums or far away? Okay, good question there, Fia. Believe it or not, the quote unquote affordable houses are actually being built in the city center. They're being built around the city. They're not being built far away from the city. They're being built close to the city because most of the people who should be living in those houses are actually working within industries and offices, which are within the city center. So that's the thing. So unfortunately, those quote unquote affordable houses are also reducing the quality, should I say, the value of the properties that are around. So, in fact, I know of somebody who brought down their entire 3 bedroom, beautiful colonial bungalow, removed it brick by brick, and moved it to another more expensive part of town. Yeah, like the Muthaigas and Karens of this world. They moved out of Kileleshwa, took apart their house brick by brick. I know several people who have done this, by the way. If you go to a place like in Karen area, if you go to the Karen Blixen Museum, Karen Blixen Coffee Gardens, there is a house there that was brought down brick by brick and put back brick by brick there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's an old colonial home. It's a beautiful old colonial home. People are doing this because of they feel this attachment to their homes. Yeah. Because those homes were really well built in the colonial days. They
Yeah.
were very well built. So they just take them and just move them and then maybe just add one or two things, in terms of design. But they want to keep people, have nostalgia for the past. And we
Yeah.
forget that there's some sections of this, there's some areas of our city that should not change too much. They should not change too much. And we have plenty of land. We have plenty of other places where we could build up. We don't have to come around and mess up places like Lavington, Kileleshwa, when we have other places that we could be building. We have the gongs, and we can build, we have the roads already that have been built. We have the bypasses, and we should use those bypasses and build houses and housing which is a little bit far out. And remember that the environment, the quality of our air, the quality will also impact on the quality of our health, you know, and our lifespan. It's important to think about those things.
Yeah. It's true. In fact, one of the things we're talking about is that this is what the president reported, that 4,888 houses have been built in 24 counties. But this is a number that is quite different from what the CS Alice Wahome said. I was watching a video about affordable housing. She seems to have a much higher figure, and she said they've reached 41 counties. And you can see the target is 200,000 units a year. And from the figure, if I recall correctly, was, they were shy over 50,000 houses. So even meeting that target is a challenge. They interviewed in that video. They interviewed the workers. And one of the things the president said is that this whole process brings in a whole multidisciplinary group of workers from different disciplines, from engineers to architects to lawyers and to the artisans, the people who actually do the building. And they said they have employed 164,000 new jobs have been created over the past 1 year. Allocation, it's one house per person. But I remember listening to an individual during the public participation on the tax laws amendment, and he said, "Look, I have paid in full my house, and I don't have a house. And when I look there, I'm just seeing the houses are occupied by Somalis. So we can't rule out that there's an integrity issue there, that something else is going on that should not be going on. Because, like Queen Mo said, the people who those houses are intended for may not be able to afford them. So we're getting other people to occupy, to who have the money, and they're able to pay for those houses. I know they're
Yeah.
living in. I saw Buxton. I think that's Mombasa.
Yes.
Where is Buxton? And then
Buxton is in
yeah,
Mombasa. Yeah.
yeah. I saw some pictures of that, and maybe we'll be able to show some videos.
Yeah.
I don't think I shared that video with you. I was just reading it, watching and listening. So the other issue, just by the way, just going back to the shisha, the president said that all payments due, claims for October 20 would be paid next week. So, and will continue to be paid. So that's what he said. So we'll wait and see. So all these promises that he's making, people will just need to keep track of them and evaluate the situation. Also, by the way, this urbanization, one of the things that came out, this affordable housing, was the importance of having monitoring and evaluation on that, and also on the SHA. Somebody came up and said, look, this system is not working. It has not been premised correctly. It's underfunded, so severely underfunded. If 50 billion shillings is needed and you only have 5 billion, and not to mention, remember, they're getting the money from SHA is from the employed people.
Yes.
And
Who are so few.
and then the questions. I was listening to a member of parliament, and she was saying, it was Beatrice Elachi, in fact, is it Dagoretti North? And she said, the questions that you're asked, there's so many. And she said, there's so many, and some of them are quite complex. And you were saying that is so burdensome. You're saying you have to make this accessible. this SHA to somebody who's applying. The registration is such a problem. So anyway, the president, of course, asked people to
Susan,
register.
you're moving back and forth between the housing and the insurance. You're confusing us now.
Okay, no, I'm still on SHA. I'm still on
Are
SHA.
you on Shaw? Are you on housing? Okay,
I
that's
haven't
okay
moved
then.
to housing, and I haven't moved
Okay,
to housing. I'm
okay.
not. I yeah, yeah. So what was I saying? I'm saying that
You're talking about the
yeah,
complexity of you're talking about the complexity of
already
registration for
for SHA.
for the national health insurance. Yes,
Yes,
SHA. And
not
yeah.
national health.
Okay,
It's called
well,
SHA.
I
Yeah,
know, I know. I'm
yeah,
trying to make it because not everybody knows
yeah.
what SHA is, and I know some of my people
Okay,
here are not from Kenya, so they may
yeah,
not understand what SHA is. You know, we just the Social Health Authority is it, and the
yeah.
Social Health Insurance Fund, is
Fun.
it?
Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, it's an
the
insurance
Social
fund.
Health
Yeah.
Authority
Mm-hmm.
runs SHIP, which is the Social Health Insurance Fund,
Fund.
and
Yes, yes.
the SHA runs three funds. One is SHIP. I think the other one is an emergency fund, and I'm not sure what the other is. I'll have to check what that is. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, what I was talking about is that the registration forms for this SHIP are so complicated, and
Yes.
the member of parliament was saying this is you're not making it easy for Wananchi to complete some of these things. And then what happens with that? You fill it in, and then they assess you on how much you should be paying, which again is a problem, which is again a problem. And by the way, the payments for SHIP are much higher than they were for NHIF, much, much higher. People are paying much, much more. There was a lecturer who was saying, I was paying 1,700 and now I'm paying 9,000 shillings, you know, and these deductions are monthly. So his payslip every month is losing 9,000 shillings. So that's quite a lot,
Yeah,
for
that's one of the biggest
somebody.
concerns about most people who are employed, that they are
Yeah,
losing so much money from employment that they're
yeah,
actually giving up. It's actually causing a lot of stress amongst people who are employed.
yeah,
They are very stressed because it's a significant proportion of their salaries that is going.
yeah,
And
yeah,
many people are tightening their belts. And it doesn't really even matter how much you're earning. Even if you're a high income earner, the
yeah,
the income that you're earning, the more you're taxed anyway.
yeah,
So what's happening is people are having to, they're doing austerity in their households now. They're
yeah,
deciding between buying food, between taking their children to the right schools, and paying all these taxes. And the taxes keep on increasing every day. And
yeah,
apart from that, there's another one of the biggest problems when it comes to now. I'm going back into housing myself. Is that I
yeah,
remember listening and reading about people who are paying for the housing, have their own homes anyway, still paying for this housing, but they're not guaranteed of homes. They're not guaranteed homes. By the way, there's no guarantee that just because you're paying the tax on the housing that you actually will get a house. Once you've actually
it's
paid for a
highly
whole house, once you've paid 1 million shillings for a house,
yeah,
there's no guarantee. In fact, the idea is it should be kind of like you should be contributing to help somebody else have a house. Ever heard of that? So there
it,
you
it,
are.
it,
You're being taxed to pay for a house for someone else. I mean, I don't understand the logic.
yeah,
Sincerely, I don't. I really
yeah,
wish I could understand, but I don't. I don't quite understand it. And when you talk about monitoring and evaluation, we're here, we're evaluators. Yeah.
yeah,
They should call upon us to come and do this work. We're ready to do it. We're here. Hmm?
yeah,
We're here and we have
especially
big
the
teams.
SHA. You're saying it
All
needs
of
to be
them.
run
The
like a
whole
project.
government.
Yeah,
In fact,
needs to be run
let's
like
put
a
it out
project.
here. Yeah, Susan, if I was to put it out here, I would say the government needs an independent body that actually does its oversight and evaluations and monitoring, and that goes and currently the monitoring evaluation department is under the office of the president. Yeah,
Yeah,
it used to be in the Ministry of Planning. It's called the
yeah,
MED. Yeah, MED. It's actually the
yeah,
Monitoring Evaluation Directorate. It's actually under
yeah,
the. It used to be under the Office of the President, but
yeah,
now what it needs to be out of government completely.
Yeah.
It should be something like NEMA on the side. It should be an independent, like the EACC. Yeah,
An
it should be like
independent
the
commission.
EACC. Yes,
Mm,
yeah, like
not
yeah, exactly. It should be like
sadly not.
EACC.
Mhm.
The anti-corruption, the is yeah, the what do they call it? An
Ethics,
anti-corruption
ethics
commission.
and
Ethics and
ethics.
anti-corruption commission.
Yeah. Mm,
Yes, they should
yeah.
have an independent body because there is one, like in South Africa. South Africa, that's what they do. They have a completely
Yeah.
independent unit so that we have the people like Morara would be there. That is where they would be working. That is who they would be engaging. And Morara would be, actually would find a place to work. Him and everybody else who wants to check on the government, they can,
Yeah.
they can actually work through that, or they can like engage them, yeah, to come with them or to go with them, because it should be a participatory process that includes the people on the ground, the people of Kenya, plus people in government. It should be combined.
Yeah.
Ideally, it should be something that is inclusive and something that is not like antagonistic, something that helps us to actually achieve and tells the president the truth about the progress of the projects, whether or
Mhm.
not the projects are progressing, and also that also calls him to account, to be accountable and transparent, yeah, about
Mhm.
the use of funds, and also gives a place for the various citizens to go into this platform and go and check on the progress of the projects so far against the budgets.
Yeah.
So it's so simple. It just depends on the goodwill of the government, the goodwill of the president, the goodwill of the people of Kenya. If you care about your money, the money where it's going to, and if you care about the utilization of funds and the achievement of those objectives and the completion of projects, if you care, then you should actually set up something like that. You should. The next
Yeah.
government should do this. Yeah. If this one doesn't want to
Yeah.
do it, the next one should definitely do it. Yeah, definitely. But anyway, that's
So the
running a little bit of besides the point. Let me let you continue.
Yeah, but it was mentioned in terms of SHA in particular that it should be run like a project. So monitoring and evaluation is important. Of course, also with the affordable housing, it's important to, those are projects, so they should be monitored and evaluated. So the other big thing he talked about was labor migration. I know this has been, causing a lot of concern to Kenyans. So the idea was to harness Kenya's abundant human capital so they can compete in the global stage. So they're supposed to source meaningful job opportunities abroad. And by July 2023, 105,367 people had been deployed to various countries around the world. Their jobs range from professional skilled, semi-skilled to unskilled sectors. So they've also, and this is apparently the Kenya Mukora has come in. The National Employment Authority has a role of 560,000 job openings worldwide. Yeah, so they're also trying to enter into bilateral labor arrangements with Russia, Poland, and Jordan. And we know just the other day, I'm not wrong, I saw that they had to bring back people from Lebanon because of the war that is ongoing there. And, I still don't understand why we are exporting labor.
What about the ones
Um,
from Israel, Susan? Let's hear from Kenya Mkora, because he's in the US and he's probably on a timeline. Hi, Kenya Mkora. Karibu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear sisters. I'm always
You
appreciative
have
of.
really disappeared, eh? We missed you. Thank God you're back.
Thank you to be known that there's some mismatch somewhere. Thank you. It's always good to see you guys. Um, Today I have enough time to really engage you guys in not my jokative things, but to actually engage in actually some actual sense of what we are talking about. So I'm not working today, so I'm in my house, and I really want to engage into really just some serious business of what you guys are talking about, because there's some things that has happened and I believe Kenyans do not understand exactly what has happened. especially this Ruto coming to say that he's recalling that Adani deal. In some of these forums that we are in, my dear sisters, some of them we don't really interrogate to tell people exactly what is happening. So for what you guys are talking about, I think is intellectual, but let me for now wacha ninyamaze kidogo first of all so that I can actually get the gist of what you guys are talking about, because you guys come with actually the details and the realistic way of actually saying something and actually showing people exactly what is happening. Nimechelewa kidogo, lakini for now, let me not jump on the ugali without washing my hands. So I'm gonna sit back here kidogo.
Welcome, Kenyam Kora, and thanks for the compliments. And we're happy to have you on board. I'm glad you're not busy today. And yeah, let's continue then. Karibu sana. So let's just hear from Susan. Susan, continue.
Yeah, so the other thing he talked about was the digital economy. He was talking about it reaching marginalized areas. So he was trying to say that it's also to empower youth to compete in the global digital marketplace. And then we know, of course, the tax regime that they want to bring in is expanding to the digital marketplace. And people need to really understand that at the same time. He also talked about the informal sector, said that 150 billion of loans had been given to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. And this was complementing government efforts. Hustler Fund of 60 billion. And he said that 24.6 million was mobilized, 3.3 billion was made in savings. There are 8.5 million beneficiaries, and the repayment rate is 97%. And then he talked about targeted investments, giving of loans and capacity building. And he was talking about this new, there were like 3 tiers. There was 150 billion loans to micro, small, and medium enterprises. Then there's the Hustler Fund. And then there's a third one that will go to beneficiaries who have a good credit record with the Hustler Fund. So they're targeting 2 million beneficiaries. So we need to keep track of all these numbers that we're being given, because we know historically that things are said and those are not met. The other thing he talked about was democracy, and he used the words of our of our clergy, speaking truth to power. They're very willing to hear. They have no problem with protest. They are legitimate and they're permitted by the Constitution. He has no problem with them at all. But the problem
Really?
is it's difficult to discern peaceful protesters from criminals. So the question that was being asked was, so who is supposed to discern the criminal? The peaceful protesters are there, and it's their constitutional right. And he talked about how the protests are hijacked. The big
Whose job
questions of
is
many,
it to protect the
yeah,
protesters and keep the criminals at bay?
exactly,
Whose job is not the
exactly.
job of the protesters? It's not.
No,
It's the job of
no,
the government. So then they're
yeah,
failing. They're admitting failure in that sense.
and
Failure,
and then he was,
yeah.
yeah, he was, in my view, I don't think he handled this part of the discussion very well, because of the way he talked about democracy and the protests. And it sort of reminds me, triggers what Kithuri Kindiki said, the current deputy president, talked about there being a higher interest than public interest, called national interest. And of course, people came back and said, well, the public interest is the national interest. Why are you separating the two? If there's a separation, then that national interest is not public interest. Then, of course, he talked about disappearances. That has been a big thing. There are statistics that have been shared by the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, also by the police. They know about the abductions. They have their figures there. And he said, well, it's either fake news. Some of it is fake news. I don't know whether this reminds you of anybody in particular. So fake news or resolved, and the alleged disappearances, arrests by police officers, and matters are in court. And then he said, oh, by the way, illegal arrests not justified. And he condemned the excesses, including of extrajudicial action. And he said, oh, you should forward the information to CID, or if it's a policeman who's involved, to IPOA, both. And so that's the way it was handled. And there's a lot of discussion about whether that the people that was very sincere, or whether it gave it the attention that it needs, because we know every day it's a big topic, even in the Kenya National Human Rights Commission report about abductions that are happening. Some people who are abducted during the Gen Z process have not been seen, and in fact, this including not necessarily during the, I'm not sure where this guy went missing, but he's an MCA of Wajir. His family are still looking for him, and he's not been found. And so when somebody is just trying to sort of minimize something that is so serious, that the families who are completely worried about where their lost one is, their loved one is, it's amazing. So okay, the big topic again was women's rights and welfare. He talked about gender-based violence and femicide, and I want us to just stop here and talk about some of these things, because I think not enough research has been done for people to really understand what is going on here. Because his sort of thinking was, and if I may quote him, he says, it's caused by gender-based impunity and brutality. And then he goes on to say, they should be, okay, he talked about good parenting of boys and males into morally upright men, so that they can contribute to society, and to create an inclusive, safe home, a place, a space. But I thought he was sort of like not really getting the real essence of what are the causes of gender-based violence and femicide. He was not getting it, that it's really a control issue, that it is really, that is what it's about. It's really about controlling women. It's not,
Susan,
you know,
I'd like to correct you a little bit there. I wouldn't say that he doesn't get it. I think he skirts around the issue.
okay, that's what,
He's just a
yeah,
typical male. He's a very typical Kenyan male attitude. Sorry to have to say
yeah,
this, but you see, when they say the guilty are afraid. Huh?
Why are you starting a fight with me? It's
Kenyan
too
Para, you
early.
said you're going to
I'm
sit there and
sitting.
you're not going to fight. So now allow me to do the fighting now. We're talking about the reaction, or the words that were stated by the president himself. He started to talk about that, oh, the society should raise boys who are. It's not the boys. It's not about that. It's about the law. It's about the fact that the law is not working. Nobody has been prosecuted and charged and imprisoned, incarcerated. Nobody. Has there been? That's the biggest problem. And he admitted it himself.
yeah,
So you see, where the law is seen not to work, then there is a sense of impunity, a sense of, I'm going to do this because I can. I can do it and get away with it. So, how about strengthening the law, strengthening the judicial system, so that perpetrators of these crimes against anybody, whether it's against boys or girls, and now Kenya Mkora, I'm getting to deal with you, because apart from femicide, there's also disappearances of two young men in the university. I'm not saying that we should skirt around the issue, but then there's a situation where a Kirinyaga University student died, okay, in a way that nobody knows about. And then he's a good friend of this guy called Akoko Billionaire, who also was unalive, was found dead a few weeks ago under what they call mysterious circumstances. These are young men in university. Both of them were forex traders and they were online workers. And the question is, how did they die? Why did they die? Why are they dying in universities, which are supposed to be safe spaces for young people? So just because they are on social media, because they're flaunting that they have money, that they're making money, they're doing forex trading, they're going to. So What is this? Is it a crime to make money in this country? Is it a crime? Are these criminals? Are they criminals? So if they're not criminals, why did they die? The same thing with the women. You know, why are women being unalived at this rate? Is there an order somewhere? Why were those bodies found in the quarry and identified? And even they had gone through postmortem. They had been identified. About several of those bodies were identified, and they know who they are. Why is it that there's been no follow up by the government? And this is where now people like the US ambassador failed Kenya completely. As a woman, she
Yeah,
failed us. She totally failed us. That is one of her responsibilities, you know, to call the government out on human rights abuses. And femicide is a big problem, as well as, the unalivement of young men. There's so
yeah.
many young men and young people, men and women. And at the moment we have so many young guys, young kids dying for no reason. We don't know. There's no investigation, there's no follow-up, there's no reports, there's no judicial decisions. There's nothing happening. So what's going to happen in the end? I can foresee a situation where you'll find young people and women say we are an unsafe category in this country. Women and young people are unsafe. Okay? So we need to find a way to secure each other. That's it. Yeah. I don't know. Mkenya Mkora, you're
Can I
welcome
come
to
in?
comment.
Yeah, but I can see him unmuting, unmuting, unmuting.
Yeah. Susan, niakachana na mimi.
I'm you, unmuting, unmuting. I just
It's
set him
because
up.
I'm being paid. And you know, my sister here, both of you actually, you're my sisters, but you've known how to chokoza me. You guys know how to really just mess with my mind for the time that I've been here.
We are very balanced, okay? We are very balanced here.
I
We're not
agree.
feminists the way you think. We're not. We are calling out the government on all of these excesses, and we're calling them out, yeah, to deliver justice to victims and to punish people who are perpetrators of crime, to stop it, because that will help to stop it. If they don't do it, then they're leaving it in the hands of you and I who feel insecure. That's it.
Ruto claims, Ruto claims that the cases have been investigated and accused brought to book. Well, maybe in some cases, but not all of them. Yeah. And still, like we talked yesterday, there's that category of, you know, um, missing women. And, when women are missing for too long, what is likely to have happened, and suicide related.
My learned
Yeah.
friend,
Yes, okay. Okay, just go on. We have kept quiet to make your mother. Okay, you say.
my learned friend. See, that's the name Munaitanaga. Let me become a learned friend, even though I never went to school of law and I
Okay.
never went to the bar. You
Yeah.
see, the thing that I'm finding very brainstorming in me, and which has been really worrying me. Now, it's true we can talk about the femicide thing. We can also, and thank you for you guys also understanding that it's not just females who were killed or anything, but also men were, or the male. Can I say male without saying
Yeah.
men? The male gender also was killed. So first of all, we start with there. I think we had this conversation about 3 weeks ago. But the thing is that a country is governed by law. And that's why I like when you guys are having this conversation, because we also have a lawyer here that actually tells us exactly what the law says. For me, I've studied this constitution back and forth. Queen Mo, you know very well, wherever we meet on the other sides, I'm the biggest person who talks about the constitution, the covenant of how we are going to live together. The constitution does not say a male or a female, but it says what needs not to be done, or what needs to be done. So what Ruto has done is against the constitution, because you cannot be given that sword and the constitution, and then you oversee a government that actually, to a point, it's even abducting an opposition leader from another country.
Basically, well, you're talking about that case. That is big news, by the way. And there's a history, not just him. There are others.
I mean, you don't know. People have been abducted, including Nani. Remember, what's his name? The MP, the emeritus MP of who's this? The one that was abducted during the day. What's his name? Please, can you guys remind me? The Keter.
Yes.
You know,
That was
Oh, yes.
really
Oh,
weird.
yes. I do remember in
That
front
was
of his
really weird.
children on the highway. Oh, my God. That was so traumatizing. Yeah. Why did they have to arrest him like that? That was really unfair.
so basically, as a lawyer, Madam Susan, we,
Yes.
we have contravened the whole constitution. And just about 2 months ago, we started talking even, and let me just, please, wacha niwapoteze kidogo, but you understand what I'm saying. Even this Adani deal,
Yeah.
we said it, and we said that guy is a scammer.
Mm,
And because we know where he got, I mean, some of us, the good thing, kutembea kwingi kuona mengi.
yeah.
So we knew where he gets his money from. I mean, does it take FBI and CIA to actually to come and tell us that our constitution and our lawmakers and the laws are not working in our country, and that now, I am so waiting for that case so much, that because I want to see Ruto, and not just Ruto, just the government, the whole thing. That's why I personally, Mkenya Mkora, I won't say my name, when you're wananijua shauri yao, we have a case in court recalling all government people, when you MPs and everybody, just recall them. And that's why we said kufa makanga, kufa dereva. We
Right.
got to the presidency, because
Mm.
it has become a big joke in our country, to where that even the lawyers themselves, when you see this guy called Cliff Ombeta
Yeah.
somewhere for a case, please know that case is messed up. There's a problem. When you see Danston Omari, just know that case is about corruption, is about something. Now today, and maybe Madam Mo and also Madam Susan, maybe I'll send you something. And this is real. There is something that has come up that let me just talk about him. I mean, Ruto himself and his proxies had 248 million US dollars in Shell and BP, and now it's also under investigation. And it has gone so bad that me personally, my sister works for Vivo Human Resource. Wameambiwa waende nyumbani. Guess who told them? The biggest, the head is called Kipkonyi.
Mm.
Yeah, my sister right now is
Did
at
you
home.
say Vivo?
Yeah, Vivo Energy. She's the human. She used
Oh,
to be.
Vivo
I don't know.
Energy.
If,
Okay.
yeah, Vivo Energy. Yes,
Okay.
she's the human resource there. Waliambiwa when they're home, they are not even sure if they are going to go back because
Wow.
of this
Who is
FBI
investigating? Who is
investigation.
investigating that case?
FBI.
Wow. Okay. Oh.
Funny, where do you think this Adani thing came from? Where do you think he
Yeah.
changed his
You
tune
need to
real
school.
quick?
You need to school us. You need to school us, huh?
When do you guys
Mkora.
think I just talk things? I don't talk things. I
But
know.
just talk. Keep talking. Let's listen. All our listeners, let them listen, and let them ask questions. Guys, ask questions. Give us information.
You call
Let us
anybody.
share information because really, let Mkora, school us, but you guys add. And actually, I'm getting some comments in here from Fia, who's saying it's the same case in Zimbabwe. Africa is the same. Most African
Yes,
countries, we're just messed
Yeah.
up the same way.
Mm.
Yeah, Fia, you're right. Yeah.
East Africa, everything is done. I mean, Africa. And the reason some people are actually saying, thank God to the guy that got into the US, the one, which we don't like him, but everybody is happy for him to be there because that
You mean
is,
Trump?
yep.
I know how mad you were when Trump was there. But okay, so now you've changed your mind now. Okay.
Yes, some of us were saying, thank God that he came back because that, remember the famous word of SHITOHOLE,
Yes.
countries.
Countries.
Yes, he doesn't care. So FBI now they can do what they want to do. I mean, the CIA can do everything they want to do. I mean, how quick did that Nini how quick did Ruto change his mind on
Uh-huh.
on his thing?
Oh,
That's so true.
in
That
fact,
is
let's just
so
talk about that.
true. I mean,
Do you know?
even femicide is being talked about. Femicide is being discussed. Hey, that's my pet peeve subject right there.
And
And
mind
not
you,
just femicide, but crime generally against people who unarmed civilians. How can we not have security in a country? That's the most important thing. When you have a child, when you have a daughter, you should be worried. You should be concerned about the security of your country. Apart from that, yes, all of this mismanagement of the monies of Kenyans is very big deal. It's a big deal.
and mind you, my sisters, mind you, that morning, the same morning, Mbadi was in front of the committee.
Imagine, and Opio, and that's
And
yes.
Opio supporting.
Yeah. In fact, we have a video there. I don't know whether you can show it. We have the video of Opio before the yeah. And he said, Adani in Kenya is not Adani in USA. Remember, and it's going to go on
Kenyam
that
Kara,
there's
I wish
no.
he could. I wish he could come and put up the videos because I don't know how to put some of these videos up. Susan actually
I
shared
could,
a
but
lot of videos for me,
unless
but
you
I
give
don't know
me
how.
the rights, unless you give me the rights,
Yeah, I
I
can
don't
give you
have
the
the
rights.
rights.
I can give you the rights. I don't know how, but I'll give you the rights. You just tell me what to do.
I
Settings,
think
Which video? I've sent you,
settings,
and there's some videos where the CS
share.
Mbadi is talking. They were, what's his name?
Mm-hmm.
He's before the committee.
Mm-hmm.
The CS of energy is before in the morning. In the morning. The way Kenya Mkora is saying, in the morning. And then he goes and he has something else in there. Then we're being asked, did you expect that? No, not them, but other listeners. Did you expect that to happen? People said no. But the question is, Kenyans have been talking about this. It's been all over the social
Oh,
media.
mm-hmm.
All over. And then
Even
they say,
that little boy who looks like the street urchin. Even he talked about Adani. Even him, that little baby boy.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was very bad. So the CS Energy said, these, they're still going on. And don't forget, Ketraco have actually signed. They have signed. The JKIA has not been
For
signed
the
yet.
sake
It's
of
still
people
in
who are
there.
not Kenyan, Ketraco is?
Kenya is the one transmission commission. Is
It's
the one
basically
that's
about
the
electricity. He was going to be
it's,
involved in the airports, the electricity, and health, isn't it? Shifsha.
yeah, health, yeah. But the
Yeah.
president didn't talk about shift,
No,
shift,
he didn't.
shift.
He didn't.
He
I
talked
think he
only
said that he
about the
wasn't involved. He said he wasn't involved, but we don't know.
yeah. Kenyans are very good at digging up information. In fact, the big issue there was they were supposed to do their due diligence, and this CS of energy said we did our due diligence, and there is, there was as far as they're concerned, there was nothing wrong or suspect about Adani. And Adani and 7 others are facing bribery charges in the US. But I definitely know that
For
if
God's sake, didn't Raila say that he's a good man?
also Raila also said, chir, the transport.
I was coming for you on that. I was coming for you on that because even now, Raila, now we have to, because since we have a lawyer here, and anyway, if I'm sued, I have a lawyer already, pro bono. Susan, you will have to take me on that one. You will be my lawyer. I said, I said it with my lawyer available. Now,
Mhm.
here's the thing that Kenyans do not understand. Raila already, and Susan, you will back me on this. There's something that is called self-incrimination. True or not, Madam Susan? You're my lawyer.
Yeah.
Remember, hii kitu ikilipuka ni wende utanisimamia kwa court.
Go on.
Is there anyone that gave Raila a microphone to go? I mean, told Raila to come and say that he's dealt with Adani? Or he just came out to talk? He came out by himself, right? Nobody forced him, right?
Nobody forced him. Huh?
What did he say? He said that he's gone. He met with Adani when he was a prime minister, and they are good company. And if you remember that presser,
Yes. It was during Kibaki's time. Kibaki refused to meet Adani, by the way. And then
yeah,
Raila met. Yeah.
yeah, but he just came up just the other day, not even a month
Yes.
ago.
Yeah.
And he told us that Adani is good and everything, and he met him and he's good, and they did business. So is Raila a criminal or not a criminal too?
But
Let
Raila
me
is
help you guys. Let me help you guys and tell you what he actually said. What he actually said about Adani. Eh? Okay. I'm reading from the Star newspaper. Okay. And this is what Raila said. In summary, Raila said this is the Star newspaper of 13th of October 2024. Raila endorses Adani JKIA deal. Raila said the ongoing energy and airport projects present a critical test that could make or break Kenya's ability to compete in the field of infrastructure development for a considerable period. Given the current financial status of the country, PPP, which is a public private partnership, is the only way out of cash intensive projects. ODM leader Raila Odinga has warned that the handling of PPP in this country could make or break the economy. In a seeming endorsement of the controversial Adani JKIA deal, Raila said the ongoing energy and airports project presents a critical test. Okay, so this is what he also said here. He said, the ODM leader said, as far as he knows, Adani Group is a major player in the infrastructure industry with the US billion with a USD 200 billion company, having
Yeah.
transformed airports and ports in Gujarat and Bombay in India. He admitted he was introduced to the company by then Indian Chief Minister Narendra Modi while he was Kenya Prime Minister during the Grand Coalition government. Under the circumstances, the most viable, tested, and reliable means through which we can sustainably address the country's infrastructure needs is through public private partnerships. Okay. So basically, he
Actually,
endorsed him.
he concluded and said there can be no Adani gate. That's what he said. We listened to the
Aha.
whole video. He
Oh,
said there can be
really?
no
Aha. There
Adani
could be
gate.
no
Yeah.
Adani Gate. Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So you have Ruto himself. You
So
have
he was introduced by Modi of India, the Prime
no. I'm
Minister.
saying the big shots who sort of endorsed the Adani deal because
Oh, yeah.
Ruto was pushing it.
Oh,
CS
yeah.
of Transport Pilchi was pushing it. CS
Yes.
of Energy Opio was pushing it.
Yeah.
And also Raila.
Chimba
You know,
Murkomen.
yes,
Of course.
Murkomen, in fact,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Actually, this thing started when Murkomen was still under transport, isn't it? And I
Which
thought
Yes.
woman
that's
was
why he
also
was
pushing
moved.
it? There was also a woman
Yeah,
somewhere pushing it. Was it Minister of I don't know what health? I don't know. Somebody was pushing it.
yeah.
Yep.
So,
They were
but
all
if you
pushing
look
it.
at
They
the
had
figures,
something to gain. Hmm?
if you look at the figures that I was telling you about how much
Mm-hmm.
money this deal carries with it, then you become
Mm-hmm.
suspicious that
Yeah,
for
definitely.
372 kilometers, they're going to be
Hey,
paid 700 and 737 million US dollars. That's the cost.
Jesus.
And like I said, compare it with 612 kilometers that was done on the Ethiopian line by another company. Contrast is HDUC, Ethiopian line, 140 million USD. So a distance that is twice that distance is still less. And this is like 7 times higher.
Mm-hmm.
And even like
Mm-hmm.
the amount of money that, is going to be paid to them is 21 billion is by
Mm-hmm.
Ketraco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 21 billion.
But I don't understand why you
So
guys. I don't understand why people are trying not to look at who's um the CEOs, or what do you call them, for Ketraco. I don't know why people are not looking at that. And can you just Google and look
Oh.
at who are in Ketraco,
Uh-huh.
who are they, and how connected they are with Ruto.
yeah, they're
Mm-hmm.
very,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, these are all, like you said, they're all proxies. And you know that backtracking, that real backtracking and embarrassing himself and his CSs, they were in shock. I think when we were sitting there and they heard that, that final nail on the head, his parting shot right at the end. And he kept that information right to the end, because I was listening, I listened to it. I couldn't to it live, but I listened to it later. And he talked about it. And it was the last statement he made before things, before the end of his speech, was saying that the Adani deals are cancelled. And then, of course, the big issue that has come up again is, so Adani is the Ketraco, they have actually signed the contract.
Okay, so let me
And
help you guys. Let me also add some interesting. The guy's name is John Mwoki Mativo. He was appointed. He's the appointment of managing director CEO for Ketraco, April 2023. The cabinet secretary, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, Davis Chichir, appointed him as the managing director and chief executive officer for the Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, Ketraco. That really opens my eyes. Considering the Ministry of Energy, yeah,
You
what it
got it
had,
now.
the issues that they've been dealing with the petroleum issues. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Now I see now.
Now you
I see.
got it. And
Yeah, I
now
got it.
umefika home.
Imeclick. Asante sana. Asante sana. It's good to point us back. You see, it's called triangulation, It's
yeah,
good to know where
yeah,
all of this is ending up because if nothing happened to Dennis Chichir, Davis
Now,
Chichir, whoever, yeah, during the petroleum
David.
scandals. And
Now,
now
my
he's the
my
Yeah,
one
dear
that
sister,
appointed Mr. Mativo. Ho, ho. This
my
thing is
dear
a mess.
sister, umefika, lakini for the
Tumefika
videos that you
kidogo.
wanted,
Mm,
umefika home sasa. These are the things that we're
nimefika.
trying to tell people and they're not
We'll do.
understanding.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. And you know, you see what I'm reading? I'm reading this stuff is on Google.
Yes.
It's on Google. It's there. Ministry of Energy. Actually, it's there from Ministry of Energy. In fact, it's on their website. It's from their website. So I'm
yeah,
not reading it from the top of my head. It's there from their website. Who are these people? Who are the board of directors? You know, it's good to know. It's actually good to look and see who are the names of the board of directors.
yeah.
We can draw our own conclusions, but if these people have been mentioned before in scandals, then what do you expect? You know? Yeah.
But this is what the
Oh,
bishops were talking about. Did you clean up the CSs? You know, remember there was
uh-huh.
Central Malembe. They were
And
saying
you're
that
yeah.
this is what Ogola was saying. That
Mhm.
these are some of the things we have talked about this with the head of state, and you know then there are two ways to listen. There's listen to respond and listen to understand. So instead of really doing the changes that Kenyans expected, we saw some of those CSs making their way back. And they were, more common was with the airport, and the other one was with energy, you know, and now
Yeah, even our deputy
they've
president was
shifted
a
them
CS and
around.
he came back. But let's put it this way: the CSs, most of them, they bought their positions. It's quite well known. They purchased their positions, didn't they?
It's
They paid
unfortunate.
money to become CSs. This is the problem, and you know what Fear is
But
saying
I,
was
I
over
I have a
here.
question for both of you.
Fear is also saying over here that
Mm.
abductions. She's talking about Zimbabwe. She's from Zimbabwe.
Yeah,
She's saying
yeah,
abductions because I was asking her what are the same. What is the same scenario in
yeah,
Zimbabwe? She's talking about the abductions of people. Young men disappear around election
yeah.
time, which is
Oh
really
yeah.
sad.
There's a
Really
there's
sad.
there's a guy on that. There's a guy in Dodoma that was actually almost. And I have these videos. Nani, my dear sister, if you can go into your email, your StreamYard email, and I'm trying to show to help you into where you can give me the rights so that I can play these videos for you guys. So if you go into your StreamYard and let me get into StreamYard. I'll send you like a request and it will tell you a number. Or maybe you can send me um what do you call this? On the email. Actually let me send you on WhatsApp a request of you giving me that number. It will show you it will give you it will ask you to give me like a 6-digit number. So where I can actually enter it and I can play these videos for you. There's a guy in Dodoma who too was being abducted. This thing that the way Kinaruto have done it, it's just a mess. The whole thing is Africa. Let me figure this out and then I send it to you. But I just need that 6 digit so that way I can actually be able to. That's the permission I was asking you. If you can give me that 6-digit code for me to put it on StreamYard. I don't know if it will mess me on my other channel, but uh, we'll figure it out together. But anyway, you guys continue. But it's a mess. It's such a mess. Africa is a mess. And I'm so thankful that Trump is in, even though I don't like him.
I can't believe this is you. I'm so glad. I'm so glad you woke up because it's not about him as Trump. It's about what he is not going to allow to continue.
Yeah,
It's about the disruption. He's coming to
yeah.
disrupt, and I think that's good on some levels. It's good. It's going to be good. There'll be some things that we're going to have to, there'll be some, what do I say, some losing. We'll have to lose some to win some, to gain some. But the American people have spoken. The American people have they are tired. They are tired. And who isn't? We're also tired out here. We are tired. We are tired. But it's unfortunate that these guys, they want to go out with a bang. And that's the unfortunate thing. Unfortunately,
In
Mkenya
fact,
Mkora, I don't know why everything is just like waking up when things are getting a bit late. How are you doing, Susan, in terms of time?
I'm okay. I just wanted
You're
to
okay.
add some
Okay, so just allow me
discussion.
then to put just my picture, my avatar, and then you guys
Yeah.
continue while I also try and communicate something to someone, okay? I need to
Okay.
sort myself out a little bit here. Okay. Thank you, Susan.
Okay. I was just listening to a show. I was listening to KTN. Some interviews they're doing. Actually, I did a scan of the main news channels on this issue, and the big question that came out after was, so I mean, is it enough for the president just to, say to terminate those contracts, and can he do it? And so some responses were that it is not enough. There's some steps to follow. That's important to investigate and see what other deals there are. For instance, we were told there's Shiv Shah deal, and also to find out who should take responsibility. Those people need to be identified, and I think that's where you were going, in Kenya Mkora, and saying if you follow this, you follow you follow the line, and you find out really who is behind everything there, and we should interrogate the process because integrity issues on Adani were raised by Kenyans who are very, they've been scanning the global space and they found these cases. He had issues in India and several other countries apart from the US, and they said he was a dishonest player. So, why the government ignored and, it is a big problem. And the question is, because the government kept saying, oh, you know, in fact, Ruto's words were that, they had irrefutable evidence that, and it was coming from, it was coming from Maureen. Okay,
Queen Mo forgot
Maureen,
to
you're on.
Queen Mo forgot to put his guards down like Ruto forgot. Says it on a patikana.
Is that what he said? Yeah, so people have been asking those questions, and the other deal, of course, they're talking about is the healthcare information system, which is part of SHIP, which is worth about 104 billion. And then the other question that was asked, what are the political risks of cancellation? Who bears the cost? Ultimately, I'm sure you've heard some of these discussions, Kenya Mkora, that, people asking, so who will bear the cost? And Badi says, oh, these are PIPs, private interest. Uh, because, apparently with Adani, they approached the government. The government did not put out an RFP, a proposal, request for proposal for repairs of or refurbishment of the airport. It was done. It was done by, um,
But
Maureen.
you as a constitutionalist, don't you see that's actually something that is suable? Like someone like you could actually go sue him.
I'm sure there are going to be cases. There are some people who that is exactly what they do. They spend time, checking and seeing and coming up with cases and filing them. So there's a group of people who are watching that. So the issue, of course, is, because Adani, this interesting thing was Adani approached directly. He went, he didn't, he was not, there was no request for proposals, as I was saying. So the question was, in fact, the question was being asked, how did they know? And that's when, like you said, and I heard a political analyst saying, in the past, if you look at the history of Kenya, remember Ketan Somaya and Patni, the Goldenberg story. Do you remember that story?
Thank you. Umekuja home. Thank you. You just landed yourself. You came with a helicopter and landed home. Thank you.
So those guys were outside, and they came and now approached the guys, the government guys, and told them, "Hey, we can do this, we can do this, we can do it like this, we can do it like that." So, but now they're saying it's the other way around. This is what this political analyst is saying. It's the people in government who look for other people outside and tell them to come, we'll make a deal with you. So that's what has changed. And in fact, this political
Now, quick
analyst was
question
saying,
for you as a lawyer.
yeah.
Quick question, because like I said, thank you. You brought yourself home. I didn't come for you. You brought yourself. Now, let me ask you. Um, what's the immigration law in Kenya?
About what? About
Just immigration. I mean, I'm not a Kenyan. I'm coming to Kenya.
there are certain countries where you have to apply for a visa before entering, and some you don't, because we have agreements with those nations. Yeah, and then of course, you have to, when you're in Kenya, you have to you are bound by the laws, unless of course you have diplomatic
There's no country in the
protection.
whole. There's no country in the whole world that can a citizen of them can enter without a visa, including America. They have to
Yeah.
pay I don't know 50 what before, and I mean that passport has to be stamped.
Yes, it has to be stamped. Some are visas which you don't pay, some are visas you pay. Yeah, but they have to
Yeah.
stamp. You have to get an entry stamp. You can't enter.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With India, and because I'm trying to educate people on these things, because I've traveled, I'm trying to educate people, and I've studied a lot on these things. Now, India, first of all,
Yeah.
is not one of those countries that I think it's only America and Botswana that they pay their passports. I mean, their entry visas at the gate of entry.
I did Burkina Faso also.
You think so? Okay, I don't know about Burkina Faso. I thought it was just
Yeah.
Botswana and America.
Yeah, Burkina Faso, you get your visa there when you enter at the
When you're
airport.
entering.
Mm-hmm. But you
What does,
actually, we had to leave our passports, by the way. We had to leave them, and then they brought them to us after.
okay.
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
does that
that was
what does that visa tell you when you just land? I mean, if you are what does the visa mean?
it gives you right of entry, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it also designates you, like now, if you're a tourist or if you're there for business or whatever it is, it will it will specify the exact visa that you have.
Has it
Yes.
given you work permit?
Not, yeah, a work permit is different unless you're there for if you're there for work, that's a business permit, that's a business visa, and also it's controlled. And
Mm.
it's, like, for instance, you're talking about something like a consultation where you're going for a short period of time.
Mm.
But a work permit, you have to apply for them. I think there's a longer process for that. You can't just get a work permit at the point of entry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Why? Mm-hmm.
I know where I'm going because I'm going to
Yes.
security measures here.
Yeah. Yes.
Sorry I can run around the bush, but just bear with me.
Yes.
Okay. So here's a Adani group. Of course, Adani doesn't come with concrete, doesn't come with akuji kama ameibeba kwa suitcase.
Yeah.
So basically, he's gonna need, even if he's the only one, not the people that he's bringing, even if he's the only one, he's gonna need at least some work permit in a certain way. Queen Mo?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think for sure you'd need some sort of, if he's coming to work, yes, because he's not a consultant, or I
Come on,
guess there was some sort of,
if he's not a Kenyan, of course he will need a work permit. Obvious, isn't it,
yeah,
Susan?
there's something that he must have got. Yeah, a type of work permit, a
And I
category
want
of
to
it.
apologize for my mic being on. I was actually alerted by somebody that my
It's okay.
mic was on. I really am sorry about that. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We're trying to figure this thing out. I mean, with international, there was this Geneva Convention and international, law and how you do things in everything. So first of all, did Adani ask for visa to Kenya? And anyway, if that's the place that is getting a visa, now how do you become the person that runs that visa place? Because that's the place that everybody gets their visa, especially the people like we said with Susan. How do you become the one that controls those visas? And so you see, that is the reason, Queen Mo, we started writing in letters to people to say that we are not going to let our national security fall. And we fought for that because we are not just going to be a porous country.
Yeah.
And under my dead body, we are not going to do it. Okay?
Supposed to be over.
Because imagine if Idi Amin was alive today, the day that he wanted to take Nini all the way to Naivasha and say that that's his. And you remember Kenyatta? What did Kenyatta say? Forgive me for because I'm gonna repeat what he said.
I don't really know.
Tutatuma ndege tatu za kivita na tukituma hazikuji kusalimia nyanya zenyu. And Idi Amin hold back. Find that clip. More
Yeah,
utaipata.
definitely our sovereignty is under threat. Definitely. Of course.
Yeah.
Somebody like Adani coming in with those kinds of abductions if the police say it's not them who abducted Besije, because actually the police and the CID said it was not them, right? It was not them. So who was it? So who did it?
And
Who
how
did
did
it?
they do it?
It
How did
was
they do it under
them.
your watch?
It was
Yeah.
them. They're the
It's
ones who arrested and took him back. They were in collusion
no,
with those guys.
no, yeah, but they say it was not them direct.
But the
They say
big
it was
big
not
question:
them.
how did he go through the border? If me
I'll
personally,
tell you how. I'll tell
I
you
can
how.
go through the
We
border.
were okay. Let me ask a question. Let's not say that we know, but let's just ask. Did not Martha Karua tell us that we have some foreign people in here from those countries? Did she not say that in public? What did Martha Karua tell us? Martha Karua told us that there are foreign elements in our country. Maybe they're the ones. Maybe it's true. Yeah, and it's in the
And
public.
also Queen Mo, and now I will not go local of what Mother Karua said. Me, I'll go international.
Yeah,
There was
you're international anyway. Us guys are
yeah.
here local. Okay.
Sorry, not in a bad way.
No, no, no.
There's
It's okay. It's no. You don't apologize. You're correct. You're correct.
I'll go international. There's a time that there was a picture, and I still look for this picture of Ruto. Two pictures actually, not even one, with this the daughter's ex-husband from Nigeria, and they were in United Arab
Kwani he's an
Emirates.
ex. I didn't know he was an ex.
He's an ex. I think
I
they've
thought
divorced
he's a
now.
husband. Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know
And also in United Arab Emirates with the MBA.
that. MBI in Nani.
Ooh, the guy, the dictator out there. And I wish I can get those pictures for you because I do have them.
Oh, MVI, MVI, MVI.
MVI,
Okay.
yes,
I thought you said
yes,
MBI. Yes, MVI. Yes, I get it. I get it. Uh-huh.
yes.
Yeah,
Forgive my.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
Just put the connection together. Just put, please, just be an FBI for once.
Yeah.
And see the connection between those two, and why even right now when you're talking about this guy, even this the new guy, the new guy on the on the table that we are talking about.
The new guy on the table.
Yes. Just look at the connection, and you will come and find yourself in a place that you really realize that iyo kitu yote iko between those two. Now, let me ask you, who funded the plane, the famous plane?
Oh,
Not the Hustlers Fund.
Kenyans have already suspected that one. They've already suspected it's Adani and group. They've been saying it. All this stuff is in the public. There's nothing new. You're not making anything up. It's there.
So basically, the problem with Kenya, my dear sisters, and okay, I'm going to say two problems in Kenya. Number one, the problem with Kenya is that a very minute community of Kenyans know how to investigate and actually are even connected on Wi-Fi and connected on things. So, that is why when Ruto wants to talk matope, or even the government, I'm not even talking about Ruto, whatever government they want, when they want to talk matope, listen, they will not find you, they will not come to Nairobi. When was the last time you saw them in Nairobi? You know where they will go? Huko mashinani.
Mashinani.
Why?
Because people are not aware. Of course, we know that.
Yes.
And they're disempowered.
Yes.
They don't have quorum. Yeah. It's the same thing, like you see, whenever they want to do whenever any sort of experiments are taking place, they always take place first in mashinani. For example, Maisha Number, where does it start? It started in Kwale district, one of the most poor places with, let's not say, it's not a poor area. It's not poor in terms of resources, but it's poor in terms of educational achievements, educational indicators. Very poor, very, very poor. So those women, those mothers, most of them in Bui, most of them, in polygamous households, most of them married at the age of very, very young, 15, 16, young girls. Their babies, they were supposed to be the first in line for Maisha Number, which is that digital ID being put in babies. Yeah. Why wouldn't they not start that one at Kenyatta National Hospital here, level 5 hospital?
Because you guys are educated. How can if I want to?
They cannot introduce those kinds of things in places like here. They can't. They'll go those places far away, far. Turkana, you'll see things happening in those areas. That's where they do those things. Not in Nairobi, not in the central business district.
How do you want me to come? How do you want me to come and hoodwink you when Sister Susan is around there? She will take me to court the next day.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Because you see, as long as you have access, you can even go to somebody else, if not Susan herself, you can go to Omtata, Oki Omtata, and tell him and tell on them and tell them this is what they're doing to us. Yeah. Like you see, like when the Catholic Church came up with this issue of sterilization of women being sterilized without their consent at Kenyatta National Hospital, it became a big deal. Was it at Maurice Stopes or places like that? Yeah, that they were doing this thing. And Kenyan women came out to talk about that they were forcefully sterilized. It happened in Nairobi. It was a big deal.
Even think about that. You remember that thing, My Clothes, My? My choice.
Choice. My dress, my choice.
Yeah.
I dress my
Mm-hmm.
choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even that. Do you think you could have done that in Uko Mashinani?
No, never. Certainly not. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why they love that Mashinani out there, because they know
Yes.
people are not going to do
Yeah.
anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
don't even, people don't talk like me. I'm talking to you and
Yeah.
Susan
Yeah.
and a lawyer, and we can, I mean, I know I'm protected in a certain way. Those people
Mm-hmm.
out there don't even watch channels like this. They're not as
Yeah.
much as educated. I mean, when I say that, I feel bad, but I'm not saying that they're not in a bad way, that they're not as educated as we are. But the problem is that what Tomboya started is that it changed the whole thing. It sent people out there to go see which is out there, kutembea kwingi kuona mengi.
Yeah.
Now,
And that's the
when
reason why. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
when you find that there's also Kenyans now, and where the problem is, and where Ruto is so stuck, and he's not just Ruto. Me kwanza, I'm starting to stop talking about Ruto. I'm talking
I think
about
we
the
should
people.
stop. We should look for the puppeteers, not just Ruto.
Exactly. Yes.
Look for the puppet master, not
Yeah.
just Ruto. In fact, by the way, he's just obeying commands, man. That one. That seriously. We need to the root of the problem, we know what it is and we know where it is. We know where the root, or we suspect. We may not know, but we suspect.
No, we
And we
know.
can check. Hmm?
No, we know. Me, I
Yeah.
know. If you
You
don't
know.
know,
Eh?
where
Let me
kivyako.
tell you why the Catholic bishops are so powerful. They're very, very, very powerful. Yeah.
But that's Vatican. What are you talking about? Do you know
Of course it
Vatican
is.
is
It
a
is.
city by
It
itself?
is. It is a country by itself, literally. In 2015, let me just remind you, March 9th, 2015, Population Research Institute published um it's on the internet. It's called Catholic Health Commission in Kenya. Vaccine contamination demands action from the Kenya Ministry of Health. There's a big picture there of a lot of Maasais in the rural area. And you know that Catholics actually work in the rural area. On February 13th, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops stated that the controversy over whether a tetanus vaccine had been laced with a sterilizing agent was an issue of national security and demanded that the Kenyan Ministry of Health cooperate in a continuing investigation to analyze the vaccine vials. I think it's trials, I think. Last year, a nationwide vaccination campaign used a tetanus vaccine that was found to be laced with a sterilizing agent known as beta HCG. The vaccination campaign in question is being jointly organized and funded by WHO and the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, which also supplied the vaccine in question. Lab results from AgriQ Kenya found significant traces of the sterilizing agent in 3 of the vaccine vials. Despite these findings, the Kenyan Ministry of Health declared the vaccine safe and continued the vaccination campaign. The Catholic Health Commission in Kenya demanded an explanation for the contaminated vaccines before continuing the campaign. So these guys have been known, okay, to come out and question. They fight for the rights of Kenyans. They have been doing this for years. They have been doing this for years. So nobody should be surprised when the Catholic bishops come out. And the other thing is that remember that the Catholics have tracts and tracts of land and tracts and a lot of dispensaries and healthcare units and schools and hospitals. They're almost a little government in themselves, in
Mama,
this country.
I went,
In the most rural parts of Kenya, that's where they work.
Mama, I went to Catholic schools my
So did
whole
I. I
life.
attended Catholic school.
I
Yes,
was an
my
altar
whole life
boy.
too.
I
You were
was
an
an
altar
altar
boy.
boy.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. You beat me
I
now.
know, and also once I nilikuja sasa nikakuwa mkubwa nikaelewa what the Catholic is. Catholic, do you understand they even have, what do you call this? Meteorological, where? Hapo Kikambe
Meteorological.
imenitanga.
Yeah, meteorological. Something to do with the weather?
Yes, that
Mm-hmm.
they look at
Weather
everything. They were
stations.
yes, stations.
Okay. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
But I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. They would be interested to know about things like that. And
When Pope
yeah,
says, we all know how many popes were. I mean, you've seen the Catholic, I mean, in Vatican, when you see the Pope walking, I mean, or driving around, how, I mean, he walks on a bulletproof and everything. Those guys, that's another I mean, you want to call US, I think people have also come to some stupid thing that they revere US and I don't know, UK to be so big people that everything, even the constitution, has to be made through them and or emulate them. But when you look at the church, the biggest church, and you go to your Bible, it came from the Catholic. That's what it was. But I'm not trying to support the Catholic. I'm just saying that the Vatican, they see things and they're there, and they're also geo and macro, even micro political in a certain way. So when you see the Catholic bishops coming to say that something is wrong, and then because mtu wa kijiji hataelewa hii kitu, not less than a week, my dear sister or my sisters, both of you, sijui kama nani yuko bado, Susan yuko bado, but
Yuko, she's around. She's around.
okay,
She probably
and
went to make a cup of tea
okay,
or coffee to
and then
stay
you
awake.
see
Yeah.
immediately after Catholic have spoken,
Mm-hmm.
you see Ruto and proxies running to all Catholic churches that they can run to, that they can
Oh yeah.
catch.
Oh yeah.
Just one day that they've spoken.
Really, the impact was great, huge. In fact, I think we need to be talking to the Catholic Church more often and get them to come out more often. I think so.
Yeah. And then
They're
tena
very
pesa
impactful.
inarudishwa. Na ilirudishwa, by the way, I thought it was a joke.
But they don't
Ilirudishwa
need it. They
yote.
don't need it.
Ilirudishwa yote.
Lirudishwa, it was returned. Yes, the money was returned. The Catholic bishops returned the money. Now, Fia is saying something here. Yes, that they go out to the rural areas. Of course they do. Of course. It's always about going to the rural areas where people are less educated. And this is why devolution is being attacked. Devolution is being attacked because what it's doing is that it's elevating people who are living in the rural areas, bringing them up to par with the guys who are living in the cities. And it's unfortunate that the county governors are not getting their funds on time, you know. But I'm really, really sorry because we're gonna have to wind up. Unfortunately, I have someone I'm looking after, and you won't believe they're still staying up this late. But I'll try my best to be
Can I
more
just, okay,
available.
as you close, can I just put
Yeah, as we close.
one
Yeah, as we
statement?
close. Yeah, yeah.
Let me tell you, there's this thing that even in when we were kids and growing up and learning geography, there's something that used to be told rural urban migration. It has come to a place where now that rural urban migration, please, na nikisema urban, also take it with a taste of what Tromboya did with JFK, of sending people outside the country to go see the first world country. So that was rural urban migration. There is something, and I want you both to remember me very well. There is something that is now being called and has come with also the devolution that is called urban rural migration. The mindsets that had gone to the urban areas are now returning to the rural areas. And that is not devoured of Kenya. So watu wenye walienda nje, either kutoka kwa kijiji yako wakaenda Nairobi, ama wenye walitoka Kenya wakaenda mahali pengine wanaanza kurudi
Kabisa.
na mko mashakani. Wenye munadhani huko mumeshikilia machiefs, tutakuonesha kazi yako. That's all I'm saying, and that's all I want to finish. We are coming. Those from Nairobi to go back to
Karibuni.
Kerugoya, wenye wametoka sijui kutoka sijui
It's so
UK,
true.
tunarudi pia na tutawagonga na tutagongana. That's why Ruto now he has no peace. I would never want to be a president at this time if I was Ruto. Ningepotea, nikimbie, nianguke, niseme wachaneni na mimi. Even some of the governors and the MCAs, we don't want nonsense in our country. We want to live a good country. We're going to do it nicely.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's
Queen Mo.
true. Oh, thank you so much, Mkenya Mkora. My gosh, we need to bring you
Thank
on
you,
board.
Susan.
I'll get in touch with you later this weekend to give you rights so that you can come on board and give us some videos. Help me to do the videos. Yeah, Cindy?
Sure, I got you.
At some
You know
point.
I got you.
Yeah. I don't know how you. Yeah, we'll try and see whether we can come on board on the weekend. If I can get Susan to come back on Sunday, maybe if you're available, Sunday evening. Susan, anything you want to say last?
Yeah.
To-
Okay. There was
yeah.
as a result of the speech, there was a lot of fact checking because of this. People were checking facts, and they found quite a few of the things that were being alleged by the president not to be completely accurate. And there are a number of them. One of them was there were a number of them. They were checking to see whether about public expenditure, whether it went down or up, and they found that actually it went up. And they said, you remember the statement I read earlier that he said we're going to try to reduce expenditure. So it went up by 225 billion. And then milk production, he claimed that it went up by 14%. It was found that actually it was a 6.7% increase. The money that was paid they claimed that they had paid. Remember that they were claiming they have paid some money on NHIF to the medical institutions. They were saying that most of the people who received money said they had received less than 10% of the pending debt, and that 50.8% of the facilities received less than 100%. And then is government listening to Kenyans? And then the response was, this does not align to industry data. So whatever he was saying, we're not sure. Even the fact, this is where people are getting it wrong, that Ruto listened to Kenyans and decided to cancel the Adani deal. If he had been listening to Kenyans, he would have cancelled it a long time, even before that Ketraco bill was set. So he listened to the Americans. He did not listen to Kenyans. So whether or not he's a listening
He listened to
president,
FBI. He listened to FBI. He was going to be arrested too. And by the way, that case will even he will always be at Atongelewa.
Yeah, it's possible. That is so. Then the one of digitized services, they said they couldn't verify. Coffee production, they said verdict inconsistent. It was a decline, not an increase. Sugar production, he said that for the first time in July they were able to meet the monthly quota. Verdict inconsistent. That means it was not correct. Wheat stocks, also verdict inconsistent. So the Kenyans have gone back and checked in the records.
Susan,
and
let me add
checked.
my other verdict inconsistent, eh?
Yeah.
Rate of inflation.
Yeah.
2%. Verdict totally inconsistent. Totally
In fact,
inconsistent.
an economist was saying about it.
Interest rates.
Yeah.
Interest rates is another question.
Yeah. There was an economist who talked about it, and he said, look, the central bank rate for inflation, the ideal one, is 5%. So if it goes down, it means that we are in lethargy. We're in lethargy. In fact, we are heading towards deflation.
On a lighter
So when
note for both of you, on a lighter note
yeah,
for both of you, can you go stand in Kerugoya or I don't know where you are and tell them inflation? Do they know what inflation means?
no,
That's what these guys
It's
use.
a cost. It's a cost of goods and services. Inflation is the cost of goods and services, and
No,
it's
but they
actually set
use,
by the central bank.
luckily my sister, they use this thing because they understand people are, I mean, I cannot say we are
they
all
don't know.
illiterate.
Yeah, Kenyans don't understand what it means, but they understand it when it's translated into their daily life. But if you use words like inflation, interest rate, what do they know? They don't even take loans in the first place. If they take a loan from
Yeah,
M-Pesa, they don't even know what interest rate means. They just know they have to pay back some money. Yeah. And
yeah,
that's the majority of Kenyans. And even those ones who are educated don't understand inflation. Many people don't. They don't understand. They don't even understand the relationship between inflation and demand and the law of supply and demand, you know?
yeah.
So
If
the
you're
inflation
genuine, you
rate
would
an
explain.
inflation rate doesn't say anything about whether money is being used, but about people's cash flows, about whether goods are actually being consumed or not. It's just a
Yeah,
Yeah,
number.
they just know mtu yetu.
Eh? I think the
yes,
thing is that this is not it's because he was told this is not the time to say tutafanya we'll do that. It's time now to give results. So I think he was trying to give results. But I think this is why I was saying that, and I still go back. If he's listening and if whoever is listening, they should know we need an independent body to oversight the government. A very independent body. We need it. And anyway, it's there in many countries that have, that are serious about doing proper work, about best practices, about managing the monies of and the resources of their population. They have this independent body. It is there. It's there in the US, it's there in the UK, it's there in South Africa. There's no reason why we can't have it in Kenya. Really, there's none.
yeah.
It should
So
be
his
independent.
conclusion. So
Yeah.
his conclusion
So
was the
yeah, his
state of
conclusion
the
was
nation is resilient. That's what he concluded. The state of the
yeah,
nation is resilient. That's what
that
he
one
said.
is true. That is the only correct one that I can say is true. Yes. Kenya is a very resilient nation, but not because of anything else, but because of the Kenyan people.
Yeah,
It's the Kenyan people who are resilient.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah. We have had to be
yeah,
resilient. We've had to survive. People have tightened their belts and they're like, do or die, we're gonna survive.
mm,
We're gonna manage with what we have. That's just Kenyans for us. But for how long are
yeah.
we gonna be this resilient? For how long? The way that we're going, I don't think it's gonna snap at some point. We can only go so far. Okay, guys. So thank you so much. I think that's it. I don't have anything else to say except good night. Thank you so much,
Good
Mkenya
night.
Mkora. And please make sure that you're always on with us here as much as possible. We'll let you know all the time when you're live. And thank you so much for being here. And Susan too. And I wish everybody a good night. Mkenya Mkora,
Goodbye.
bye.
Yeah,
Cheers,
bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Good night and good day. Bye bye. Okay, bye bye. Thank you, Fia, and everybody else also in the comment section. Thank you.